Howdy ho, good neighbor. It is apparent that we are at Willsey Wood School here in Alameda, California. That's right, on the corner of Otis and Grand Street. You can see right now there is a pile driver on site of this old new school. That's right, the old school is gone and is just a pile of rubble. Where the new school, well, the rubble has been turned into those long concrete beams you see right there. That's right, those are piles. Pile drivers. So those long beams are going to end up all the way into the ground. And here's where the old school was. And they dug it all up and torn it all out. And now it's just a big hole in the ground. Boy, that would have been something to play in as a kid, wouldn't it? You go play in a mound of dirt like that? Oh boy. Well, there's that old tree. I'm glad they kept that. It's been in all the videos. So that one lone tree in the middle of a construction site. So there it is, the pile driver. And they men who do the pile driving. So I talked to one of the guys that runs the thing. I guess he's a crane operator. You'd think they would be called pile driver operators, but nope. He's a crane operator. And he said that this is going to be a new auditorium and a new administration. So there is the old administration right there. And I think they're just going to move right into the back there. But that'll be a while. It'll be I want to say a couple years from now. Maybe 1 year. I don't know. But I can tell you this, that this big pile driver must stay at least 2 stories high. And believe it or not, it's just a giant hammer. And every mark you see on the ground there is where they pound one of those piled into the ground. I don't even really know if they drill too much at first, like a pilot hole, but they got to get to the bedrock, as they say. So as you can see here, that's moving around to a different location and getting ready to set up for the next pile drive. So if you think it's easy to build a school, think again. Think of all the engineers that it takes to go and lay out each pile and each beam that has to go on each pile. It is a engineering feat to see it all come together. I always say building a building is like having a baby, because you're putting so much time into it, and you only have a certain amount of months to give birth to this beautiful structure. And so many people are involved to make sure it all comes out just right. So even being part of one small part of a building is, like I say, having a baby. I know when I do fire sprinklers and I have my own small part on a building, I always go by that building and say, I did that one. It was like my baby. And some are very stressful, just like kids. Some buildings are more stressful than others. And just like kids, we only remember the stressful jobs. We never remember the good times. It's kind of like in life, you know? We just remember the hard times. We don't remember the good times. That's funny how that works. So, on this day, while I was waiting for them to pound that concrete pile, I guess you want to call it a pile since it is a pile driver, as I was waiting for them to set up, well, I just thought I'd show you exactly where you're at on Alameda Island. And it took them a while to set up this next pillar because, believe it or not, they kept getting, I'm not really know if they're getting stuck. They weren't getting stuck, but they were sinking. So as I took a closer look here, I came in a little tight here. Got to be careful not to disrupt their work, you know. I don't want to make anybody mad. But as I got in right here, I noticed that they were yelling at each other, and I think it was sinking, but I don't see a lot of mud there. So I don't know what was going on, but they were moving very slowly. But on this part of the job, I wanted to show you how much concrete and material was been dug out. That was a 3-story building, and they totally dug out all the plumbing and the earthquake elevator pit. There's not a trace left of that old building. So they even got all the old pipes out of the ground. And as you can see, all the dots on the ground next to the pile driver, well, that's going to be where the new building is, right next to the ballpark. So you can see why they need to do pile driving when they're living working, I should say. When you're building on an island, you really got to get to bedrock. So you can see where the small holes are and where the big holes are. And where the big holes are, well, that's where they've already pounded in those concrete pillars right there. And just look how long they are. They must be at least 30, I don't know, at least 20 feet long. There's one of the old concrete pillar movers. And I finally got him to give me some action, but this is the point where I knew that they were in trouble, because I thought he was going to pick up a pillar at this point, and he wasn't going anywhere. But in the drone business, it was action. And so I did follow him going, where are you going? I thought maybe there's some more pillars over here, but I didn't see any. So come to find out, to make a long story short, he's going after like a grate that the truck can drive on, because like I said, the truck was sinking. So even though we haven't had a lot of rain, I guess the ground was still soft. So you can see that grate at the beginning of the gate. Well, he's going to pick that up and take it to the job site. So you can see right here, he's positioning his tractor to get underneath that grate. So I didn't know what he was doing. I put two and two together later in the video, but yeah, he's lifting that up as we speak to get underneath it, and he's going to take that back to the job site so they can work off of that. So in the construction trades, you always got to make do with what you have. So right now, he's making do with the grate that they have, and there's his helper gonna come give him a hand loading the grate. But here's that trenches. Like if I was a kid, I would love to play in those trenches, boy. And there's the two monsters that did all the damage to tear that school down, the unsung heroes. Well, at this point, I realized in the video that I wasn't going to see him do another pile drive. I saw one pile drive from the ground, and I realized that they weren't going to do another one today because it was getting late in the day. So on this point of the video, I wanted to take you over to one of the worst crimes in Alameda history, where this coward took his wife and his two kids and his in-laws' family. That's right, this is the house you're looking at right here in the gruesome crime scene. It's still empty. That house is not sold, and no wonder, because he didn't take his own life, the coward, but he took his in-laws and his wife and his two kids right in that house in Alameda, right next to his school. Just sad to say that what goes through someone's head to make them do that. I don't know, the devil himself. So there you go. Rest in peace to that poor family who lost their lives in that house. I do feel for them. That was a sad day in Alameda, and God rest in peace in those babies. I just wish we had a better justice system where you can have an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and that person would not be living now. We would have a public square just like this, but we don't do that anymore. Now we treat our most violent criminals with more respect than the victims. Well, I'm rambling a little bit too much on that one, am I? Well, you can see kind of where the tire tracks are, and that guy brought back the grate. So back to the story. He's got a grate on his tractor, and he's going to position that. So if you want to see any pile driving, you're going to have to watch the first part of this video. I usually, on a long video like this, I'll split it up into two parts and then make one long movie. Some of these videos are as long as a movie, believe it or not. You just have so much footage that you want to share, but I did not know that they weren't going to throw another pile down. I was waiting. I wish they would have told me. I wouldn't have wasted your time or whatever, but I thought right now they're going to do one more. They're going to do one more, but I should have known. But this was still interesting to me to see a truck kind of stuck in the mud. It wasn't stuck in the mud though, but it was sinking. You can see the tire tracks in the dirt. So like I always say, if nothing is easy, you know. But I'm sure these guys would complain if the ground was too hard, because then their piles wouldn't drive in. So I think you would almost want it where your pile driver gets, see how the tires are kind of stuck real low, and now they're putting out those, I found out, see those white things they're messing with? That's like little, I want to call those feet pads, where they're going to lift out, they're going to put the whole thing on little feet pads and kind of distribute the weight. So that's what clued me in, that the wheels aren't doing good. It seems like they're sinking. But like I was saying, if I'm doing pile driving, I'd rather want some soft dirt. And I don't think I'd want hard pan. That's what they call it in the soil business, hard pan. But I looked on the other side here, and here's a good example of, you see how the feet are sticking out from the side, and those little feet pads, those white feet pads? Yeah, you can see that for sure. So that's what they're doing on the other side, and boy, does everything take time. And this is shot on a Saturday, so these guys have been working all week long. I'm sure they're tired and just want to continue to pound away. But when their big rig, a pile driver, starts to sink, well, now their job just got twice as hard, because now they got to put out those outriggers. I think I even heard chain being hooked up, so they might have to pull it out of the hole it's in. You've been there before, haven't you? Where you had to be pulled out by a chain. That's right. Well, I can see they were yelling at each other that, get the chain, get the chain. And I think they, right about here, everybody said, you know what, we're just done. We got it all jacked up. Let's just wait till Monday. And that's when I heard, okay. So then I realized this guy is going to go get one beam, and then he's going to be done. So I knew right then that as soon as he picked up that beam, well, the day was done. And believe it or not, I only had one battery that day. So I can see that this man was walking back to the gang box with his tools in his hand, and I knew right then it was time to pack up. So you can see this tractor is going to attempt to get one more beam, but the funny thing is my battery is running out. So I thought I'd watch him pick up this beam, but it was a time of, does the battery run out, or are you going to run out? I don't know. But he doesn't move too fast, does he? And I don't either. This whole video is a little long, and I appreciate you watching it. But we're just about finished here, because I did want you to see how he picks up this beam and how many people are involved. Doesn't take much. Takes the driver, that's one. And you always got to have the spotter on the ground, that's two. And of course you got the guy coming back from the bathroom. He just took a big deuce. So he's going to watch and wait and wait and wait. He doesn't even get involved. He's just off to the back of the tires where he shouldn't be. That's right, get where the driver can see you. You never want to stand in the back of a forklift. Or some people call this a gradall. Well, here's about where my battery started to go dead. And isn't that funny how I've been waiting for them to finally do a pile drive. But take my word, they did not do a pile drive. They picked it up and went and sat it down and shook it all around. But they were ready to get out of there. It was late on this day. So I'm glad to see one pile drive go in from the ground. And like I said, I'll try to make my way back here if I can, because a lot of this is always on a weekday, but maybe next Saturday they'll still be pile driving. Now, I would hate to be a neighbor in this neighborhood, but they're still pile driving after a couple weeks. My goodness, that's a long time of hearing that hammer come down on the concrete all day. That is loud. Like I said, I heard it a couple blocks away from Meals on Wheels. Well, just like everything in this video, like I said, nothing is happening fast. It is just slow. So if you think it goes fast to pile drive into a building, think again. And those poor people in Los Angeles have got to rebuild their homes. I don't know. You better have a lot of patience, because you can see that construction is slow. Right there. See how my camera went down? That's when my battery started to go dead. So I did the override, and I'll give you a good proper adieu. Well, that's a good proper adieu for you, and like I said, be kind and please rewind and all that. But yeah, if you're having trouble with your family, don't take it out on them. And I'll keep continuing to come back here to the Will C. Wood School Build Out Adventures. That's what we'll call this one. Well, as always, I want to thank you for coming along with me on these Will C. Wood Build Out Adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye, everybody.